Hi, this is David Guest and welcome. Look, we've had a lot of great feedback on the sales process ebook, but a few people have asked some questions around, what to do with this ebook. And one of the biggest challenges is it's really easy to download something and stick it in your filing system, but if you don't implement what you get, what happens is that it really just becomes another piece of noise. So one of the big challenges, and it also happens in sales as well, is we tend to procrastinate on things that we need to be doing. So let's talk a bit about what happens so that we can actually deal with these issues as they come up. Because sometimes we know we're going to be making sales calls, but we'll find other things to do. Sometimes we know we need to develop our sales process, but we look at it as a big project that's going to take a lot of time. In essence, the ebook was going to take you about 5 to 10 minutes to go through. So let's talk about why we stop doing things and why we fail when we need to succeed. Because the secret is really simple. When we go outside our comfort zone, one of the big challenges is that we are feeling uncomfortable. We are doing things where we don't know what the outcome is, and our subconscious, or our comfort zone, let's call it, because that's what we love to call it, it should be called a familiarity zone though, is to do what we've always done. So procrastination is quite natural. It's a response to fear, and what we need to do is we need to execute. So let's talk about how we do this. Really simply, what we need to do is we need to identify the benefits of what we're going to be doing, and we need to just sort of take the plunge and move forward with it anyway. So what I'm going to suggest you do is grab out that book, the ebook on how to develop your sales process, fill it out as best you can, even if you don't get it 100%, just fill in the content of the book, because it'll start you thinking about your sales process, you'll become conscious about it, and then what you'll find is just from that point of view, you'll be able to create more sales, you'll be able to have a better control of your process, and you'll be more successful. So let's talk about why our behaviours actually don't reflect what we want. Because often what we want out of life, what we set our goals for, what we set our sales targets for, is great. But then what happens is we sabotage ourselves, and it really comes down to how we see ourselves. If you look at this iceberg over here, what it talks about is our behaviour is the thing that we see. That's the part of the iceberg that's above the water. But if everyone knows the story of the Titanic, it was the bit below the water that sank the Titanic, not the bit above the water. So it's the same with our behaviours. What happens is our behaviour is just what's visible, and it's usually a combination of our decisions and our actions. So what we're looking at is when we look at salespeople who are procrastinating, we know they're procrastinating, that's a fact. The question is why, and that's what's happening beneath the surface. So the very first thing is skills. If we're confident of what we're doing, then we become quite capable with the behaviour. So the example would be, if you're good at cooking, you'd probably have dinner parties at home, right? But if you're challenged by cooking, chances are you'll be going to restaurants a lot or to friends who know how to cook. So the skill set determines the behaviour. So we need to work on our sales skills, number one. Number two, beliefs. So what's a belief about, right? A belief is something that we hold to be true. So if we think sales is negative, or if we think our customer is going to reject us, that belief actually makes us subconsciously not want to do the sales call. So we need to start working on our beliefs around sales, on our belief around ourselves, on what we think we can do, so that we can actually develop the skills and get the behaviour going. So this belief is quite key. The third thing down here is values. Now, when we talk about values, we talk about what's most important to us. Now, the majority of people I ask this question to, they usually come back with family, integrity, those sorts of things. Now, that's great, but we need to make sure that our values aren't sabotaging our beliefs and our skills. So let's look at how we translate what our sales job is and make sure that we're using that set of values to support our beliefs and our skills moving forward. But the biggest one is the one down the bottom here, is your identity. And this is the one I think most salespeople will struggle with, right? Our identity as a salesperson can be quite negative or positive depending on what sort of stereotype you use. Now, if you have any sort of stereotypical view of a salesperson being a hard sell, smooth talker, rip-off merchant in the subconscious of your mind, that is going to affect your behaviour. Because as soon as you move into an environment or a situation where you feel like that person, you're going to back off because that's not congruent with who you are. So we need to work on our identity as well. We need to work on our values, our beliefs, and our skills, and our behaviour will change. Now, the last thing is this iceberg lives in the ocean, and this ocean is our environment. So my question about your environment is your environment conducive to sales? Do you have motivational things around you? Do you have a dream chart? Do you have people around you that are supporting your efforts, or do you have people around you that are actually pulling you back? Think about what that environment is, because this is really key to getting success in sales. Now, I want you to work on this, because as you develop your identity around sales and how you actually help people rather than sell to people, you'll find that your sales will go through the roof. I look forward to speaking to you again.